Howdy gamers, John Deadlock here. It's true, I've always been a Deadlock content creator, as you can tell from my expansive list of videos covering the subject, and I think it's finally time I tell you all just what I think about the game. To catch you all up to speed in August of 2025, Deadlock is a third-person shooter MOBA that holds a lot of similarities to titles like League of Legends, Smite, and Overwatch. A lot of people see 3D models and a diverse cast of characters and automatically assume that it is a muted Overwatch clone or even a variant of Paladins, rest in peace. However, I have found that I've had to translate a lot of my League of Legends knowledge to this game, in the way that there are lanes, minions, objectives, side objectives, a jungle, and even a Baron Nashor equivalent. You can also tell when somebody has never played the game when they compare it to Overwatch, because the only thing that translates from that game is its more dynamic movement options alongside expressive character designs. And heck, I'd even say that Deadlock can feel like Titanfall 2's pilot controls while having side objectives from Fortnite. And at a certain point, the number of comparisons that you have to make to explain what a deadlock is, because you're either too bundled up trying to equate everything, or you're really stretching because you don't know how to properly quantify topics by explaining them as they are. But let's drop the satire and actually talk about Deadlock. Deadlock is a MOBA developed by Valve that is still in its early alpha phase. People that can play this game presently are here because they were invited by friends, as no real open beta has been announced yet. The title pits two teams of 6 players against each other spread across 3 lanes, with the goal being to destroy the enemy patron. There are 32 playable heroes, with several more slated to be in development. And each hero has 4 abilities unique to them, with some abilities being passive slots that permanently affect their gameplay. Viper slides 25% further, Abrams gets health regeneration, Mina deals bonus damage after she shoots the same target enough times, etc. At the start of the game, each lane, green, blue, and yellow, has 2 players automatically assigned to it, followed by a wave of minions. When minions die, they give half of the souls on death, then the other half manifests in what is called a soul orb. If the orb expires after a short delay, then your team gets the other half of the souls, which is the currency equivalent of gold in League of Legends. Allied orbs are green and enemy orbs are orange, but if the opposing team shoots their opponent's orbs, then they claim that half of the souls for themselves. It's a bit of a reflex test and a unique form of last hitting that I personally haven't seen before, while also giving you a bit more control over reckless pushes. Sometimes your opponent might hold down their primary fire and kill lane minions immediately, won't have the ammunition to shoot their orbs. In other instances, if I'm playing a character like Ivy who has low gun damage but a high fire rate, I will solely focus on denying orbs, since my gun is pretty poor at clearing minions anyway. And then on top of all of this, you can use your melee attack to kill a low health minion, and it will instantly claim all of the souls, though getting into melee range of a minion that your opponents can also shoot at is risky. These souls are all in service of purchasing items, which bolster your character's capabilities by specializing in one of 3 categories: weapon, vitality, and spirit. Weapon items increase your gun's capabilities by giving things like extra headshot damage or increasing the magazine size. Vitality gives you more defensive options like more health or damage resistances. Spirit increases your character's ability damage along with a variety of castable effects. Your first items can be bought at 800 souls, then 1600, then 3200, while the strongest and most expensive items are 6400 souls. And depending on what you buy early, some items can then be upgraded into their more powerful versions at a reduced cost. For example, Crippling Headshot is an item that by itself costs 6400 souls, but it is an upgrade from Weakening Headshot, which is a 1600 cost item. When Crippling Headshot is bought as an upgrade to Weakening Headshot, it costs only 4800 souls. And now things get really interesting when you consider that every character has the capability to build every item. One of my favorite characters is Ivy, and no, it's not because I'm a furry, but because she was the first character that really clicked with me. She has a fairly straightforward kit that can be modified by items to help her specialize in a variety of playstyles. There's the support playstyle, where Ivy front-loads the utility side of her kit to provide massive team-wide heals, crowd control, and defensive options. Then there's the Floor is Lava build, where you run spirit items and immolate anything that crosses the kudzu zone of death. And finally, there's the tried and true run and gun Ivy, which is just another character that I like is Viper, who is the slippery, pun not completely intended, short-range burst carry. This game has a unique mechanic where you do not consume ammo while sliding, and Viper has a passive ability that extends the duration of her slides, effectively tripling her gun's magazine count. With the right items and on the right parts of the map, Viper can technically maintain this slide indefinitely while absolutely shredding anybody she comes in contact with. Now, the most obvious way to build her is with a bunch of gun amplifying items, but because her two primary abilities have decent scaling with spirit items, she can become the Wizard Lizard. In fact, there's a build where I build this spirit item called Quicksilver Reload, which reloads your weapon, gives you increased fire rate for that clip, and bonus spirit damage on each bullet hit. Pair that with her ability to delay having to reload, and she can dish out some serious hybrid burst damage. I also just love her voice line, she's very fun to listen to. In lane, it's pretty heavily encouraged to use your third-person camera to scope out where opponents are, and to use the geometry of the map to take shots at your lane opponents while they're not looking at you. While in lane, the goal is to eventually take the enemy's Guardian, a tower of sorts that deals high sustained damage to the unit that is closest to it. The Guardian cannot take damage from the player unless they walk past the top of the stairs leading up to it. And the same goes for every objective, in that they cannot be damaged from range, which discourages people from sitting at long range and simply gunning them down. In this game, you're also restricted to 8 item slots, which progressively expands to 12 after objectives have been completed. If you're set far behind and can't complete objectives, you don't get those slots, meaning that outside of progressing the game, objectives have a very vital role in play in the relative power scaling of every character in-game. With this limited slot spacing, you have to be strategic in how you use the slots you have, which often results in you selling 800 soul items that don't upgrade into stronger ones. Every time a stronger item comes up, it becomes a balancing act of knowing what stats or items are acceptable to lose for the sake of much stronger ones, and you'll often end up swapping out at least 3 to 4 items for ones that better fit the game as you get later into it. Similarly, if one game ends up having a lot of characters building weapon damage, it would be a good idea to build weapon resistances. If a character happens to be in the air a lot and is being a general nuisance to your team, there's a counter item called Knockdown, which can be countered with an item called Unstoppable, but then Unstoppable can be countered by either not taking bad fights against that player or using an item called Curse so that they can't use active items for a period of time. Are you running into a Bebop player who's trying to do a bomb build? Debuff Remover completely clears the bombs off of yourself before they detonate. The enemy team has a Shiv, Lady, Geist, and/or an Abrams, Spirit Burn, Toxic Bullets, Healbane, Mo and Krill, Decay, Haze, Plated Armor, Deadlock, as in lock the fuck in, we're starting a team fight and all hell is about to break loose. You've all seen it by watching the background footage here as well, but I really like this game's visual aesthetic. It's supposed to be this mage punk noir version of New York, specifically in Manhattan, and given the unique attention to detail and how much of the actual map is incorporated into how the player moves around it, it is a map that you can actively engage with at all points. Now, most of the settings are these high rises that restrict straight vertical movement, but often have windows and breezeways that cut through the center to allow navigation between lanes. And even then, a lot of the buildings are scalable to a point, as players have access to a double jump, an air dash, a wall jump, and even some segments of scalable ropes. While traversing the map, a lot of details stick out to me, such as the consistent font face that all of the empty storefronts feature. The colors are darker and heavily contrasted, letting the more vibrant or even varied appearances of the characters themselves stick out against the background more. And this is where Deadlock stands out from its contemporaries, where explosions of color can be overstimulating and straining on the eyes. Granted, you can never really escape this issue with any MOBA title, but I find that despite the chaos, it's a lot easier for me to decipher what's going on in Deadlock and what I need to do without feeling like I'm watching a 2018 League.exe video. And the setting also invites a whole bunch of unique character designs. With this game still being in its alpha phase, the lore isn't fully fleshed out yet, but even in the tidbits we get from character interactions and the few paragraphs in the lore sections, we have members of a secret society, a detective in possession of the Necronomicon, a bartender, a non-binary trust fund child, a possessed doll, a reanimated corpse, and a snake lady who's just really good at breaking out of jail cells. Given that magic is an established cornerstone of this imaginary world, what we are presented with is a practically limitless set of character designs. And while we're still on the design topic, I would also like to go out of my way to talk about just how damned gorgeous this game's menus are as well. The character select screen has so much personality, with every character having unique font to their name and a semi-animated background. Every little bit of flavor that Valve adds to this game really helps solidify its overall art style, and it's not hard to get excited to see where this game ends up when it's through with its alpha phase. Now, this is a pretty rudimentary look at the game overall. I haven't really talked about laning, I haven't talked about a lot of the combat, hell, I haven't even talked about the way that you queue up for a match, but I attribute my brevity to how much this game could potentially change in the months to come. Some characters have updated models, some are still rocking an old appearance. Gameplay mechanics are adjusted and changed in between each and every patch to the point where the game could be completely different by the time that I revisit this video. Either way, with how promising that this alpha test has looked so far, I can say with confidence that Deadlock is only going to get better.